the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Hey, thanks for joining us Under the Hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, Hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. What's caught your attention in the automotive world? I can tell you what's caught my attention. Every single car on every single road, website, TV show, or anything. Because I need to get a car and I have no parameters other than
some budgeting concerns.
There's a few big parameters on that, but still, I've been planning this for 3 years about what vehicle I could get to replace my car, what we could do, what we should do, and then now that my car's gone, I can't remember any of it. Or
you're under pressure now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? It's we'll be glad when you get a car too.
Yeah. A good thing texts aren't 10 cents a piece anymore, or I wouldn't be able to afford any car.
Have you you've thrown us a few ideas. Have you narrowed anything down at all?
Here's what I'm thinking.
And maybe there's somebody listening that has just the sweetest thing out there for Chris, or maybe there's somebody at a dealership that wants to give Chris a car as a sponsor car for the Under the Hood Show, and just let him drive it.
Here's where I'm at. I have a few that I'm going to go look at, and I'm pretty positive that I'll just go look at one of those and then end up with whatever's on the lot. That's usually how I end up with a car.
You could be more disciplined than that.
You don't need one that fast.
Oh no, I could. I 100% could be more disciplined than that. I
just not sure you're capable of it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, bring a friend with bring a really conservative, tight, don't do that friend with you.
I'm married to one of those. So
and you know what he's going to do? He's been on this show all these years. He's not going to get a car inspection. He's going to buy something that we're going to say, "Why did you buy that pile of crap? Because this has this problem, that problem." Well, what do you mean? You've heard us talk about it a dozen times, how bad these transmissions are, how bad these engines are, and he's going to end up with it.
But I have you, so I can overcome any of that.
Okay.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Colorado and talk to Aaron. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Aaron, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. Really enjoy your show. Really, really fun and entertaining. I got a 2009 Honda Pilot that I just picked up for my wife. Mint condition, 20,000 miles.
Wow.
On an 09.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's just spotless. An older gentleman owned it to the point where he's getting old. He can't drive anymore, and I just happened to get on the deal. But my question is, and I didn't think about this initially when I bought it, but the timing belt. Is that something you guys would recommend me changing out, being an 09 with only 20,000 miles? I'm just getting your input.
Yeah, it's still way old. It's old. It's a piece of rubber. They go bad. Yeah, I'd definitely change that thing out, even with the low miles. Some people would say, no, I don't need to do that, but those are the people who hadn't put an engine in one when they break yet.
Right.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's just shelf life.
16 years old already.
Yep. Okay.
And I would also, knowing that vehicle's been driven seldom and it's gone all on short trips most likely, unless he went out and burned it down the interstate every time he drove it. But I would be looking at doing a fuel injection system cleaning as soon as I can to make sure and work on those carbon deposits that could be in there, just because it's been on short trip and it hasn't been heated up as many times in its life.
Yeah, CRC guaranteed to pass in the fuel system. That's one thing you could use in there to clean that out a couple times, not just once, because it does have a lot of short trips on it. So it's going to have a lot of emissions clogging. Super low miles, so the engine's probably in beautiful condition inside. But if you clean it up a little bit and then you're going to go out and drive it, now you're going to put some miles on it like it was originally designed to, you'll be fine. Transmission.
Yeah.
Transmission fluid you could have looked at, just have them inspect it, the color of it, but I'm guessing it's probably looking still like brand new because it hadn't had a lot of miles. There's nothing to contaminate a transmission like the engine, where short trips are going to get blow by past those piston rings down into the engine, so you're getting unburned fuel and carbon and stuff in there. You don't have that with a transmission. So typically a transmission on a car that hasn't been driven very much is a clean transmission inside, and just moving it a little bit to keep it lubricated is
occasionally some moisture issues, but
I bet that's going to be like brand new.
There is a little bit. I mean, when you're talking about a car that old with that few miles, it's almost the opposite of there are some more things you have to be concerned
you just want to
about.
check it out,
Yeah.
but he's got a treat on his hand there. The the tires that are on it, if they're still original, they're 16 years old. That's too old.
Yeah.
And maybe it's been in climate controlled storage or something, but those tires are too old otherwise.
There you go, Chris. You should be buying this guy's car.
The guy put brand new tires on it before I bought it.
That's
Perfect.
perfect. Yep.
So,
Yeah, you got yourself a
Yeah.
nice piece of equipment there.
Aaron, thanks very much for the call. That sounds nice. It is. I saw someone just recently on Facebook bought a car 10 years ago. When they bought it, they took the tires off it and put different tires on it. And they were selling. They were like, "Hey, these are the tires I bought with the car 10 years ago. They've never been used. I'm selling them." And I didn't jump on, but I almost jumped on and said, "Those might not be. You might not want to sell those or buy those, because that's 10 years is sitting is not good for a tire."
Yeah, there's a lot of tires that sit in warehouses for quite a while before they get sold, and but the dates are on there for a reason, so people can pay attention to it and inspect them closely. But sometimes it's just not good. I mean, we talk about it when you see the summer season come along, and you see the camper or the trailer sitting alongside the road with a shredded tire. It's just because they just don't get used a lot. They sit outside in the weather, a lot of them, and they're not used frequently, and that can happen. So that's why you got to be careful.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Dave. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Dave, what can we do for you?
Morning, guys. I've got a 2012 Chrysler 300. We bought it new. It's been a wonderful car. Got 173,000 miles on it now. Okay. We were going to a pancake feed. I got about 5 miles. I heard a ding, looked down in the dash, and it said left front tire, 22 pounds. Well, that's odd. It was driving good. And anyway, I watched it. It went down to like 18, then it'd go up to 24. But I also, at the same time, that was one of those real warm days, and the air conditioner was blowing hot air. And I drove a few miles, pulled into a gas station, and shut the car off, got out, checked tires. They were all good. Got in, started it up. They all read right, all the pressure gauges, air conditioning blew cold. Drove home, the same thing. Now, last weekend, my wife informed me that last week when she drove it, they would keep doing that. Left front tire would read low, and the air conditioner would blow hot air. What could those two things possibly have in common?
If you've got a tire issue, and that, it sounds like you've got something going on that network that's causing a problem. So the tires are read by the wireless interface module, same thing that reads your door lock, key fob, ignition on some cars. But you could have completely unrelated things, but you could also have something going on where you've got a failure in one of those modules. The body control modules, the front control module in those cars, they were problematic. We've seen a lot of them get replaced. A lot of dealers put a lot of those in. So you're going to have to take it in while it's acting up and have them diagnose it. But if it's not acting up when you take it in, don't even waste your time, because it's going to cost you money and they're not going to do a thing for you. They can't. They've got to see it happening continuously as they're looking at the vehicle. So
unless they've got a service bulletin that says from over the years, if you have these two symptoms, replace this part.
Yeah.
Right.
And they see it all the time.
And they see it all the time. And that does happen from time to time. But otherwise, yeah.
Is this a situation where he would can I bring it to you or should I bring it to a dealer? Does it matter?
This is one where I'm not optimistic I'm going to see it happen constantly, so
Right.
I'm probably just going to pass on it.
We're capable of fixing it
Yeah.
if the problem is there.
And
It's
the
got
service
to be there.
bulletins you would get too.
Oh yeah, but I tell people all the time, don't bring it in unless this is constant. Oh no, it does it all the time. So they bring it in, and I'll call them and say it's not doing it. Well, it's most of the time.
Yeah,
What is most of the time?
Every week. It happens every week.
Yeah, when I drive to work, I see it 3 or 4 times as I drive. All right, it's not doing it now, so it's gonna cost to look and see that it's not doing it. I said it needs to be broken. You bring it in when the AC has been out for a week and it's not working. And
it's so hard to take that advice because you're wanting to fix it before it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the two forces are fighting against each other.
I've looked at my own vehicle over and over and over trying to catch something, and I have not been able to catch it. Then I finally found it. It took me 3 years to finally find out what was wrong with my truck because I kept looking, and when I'd go to look, it would go away.
Think of all the money you saved, though, and made at the
There you
same
go.
time. It's kind of crazy.
I'd drive with the scanner, and I'd keep looking at it, try to catch it, and I'd get the gauges out, and then it would go away. I'm like, and I'd get tired and try it again later.
Dave, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That is a pestering problem. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Maine and talk to Keegan. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Keegan, what can we do for you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Can you hear me well?
You bet. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm working on a 2003 Cadillac Escalade, my father-in-law's. He had the check engine light on, but when I plugged my scanner into the port, it did not get any power. It can't see the vehicle. I did test pin 16, and it shows no power to the pin. So then I backtracked it to the fuse box under the hood, and the fuse for info does have battery power. And I do have continuity from the back end of that pin to the port. So does that mean that my fuse block is bad?
Probably, if you've got a connection all the way from the fuse block down and there's no power. But if you need to diagnose it, just put some power down there. Just if you're checking it and you've got no power coming out at that wire where it exits the back of the fuse box, it's an 03 Escalade. You can just cut it off right there and hook power to it, and then diagnose the vehicle. You're good to go.
So just give it its own auxiliary power. Okay.
Yeah, it's
And then
probably
another
the fuse
question for you
box.
guys.
It is most likely the fuse block. We sell a lot of those for different reasons.
And if that's great, that's the one out and not something more important. But you can cut it off, put a fuse on the end of it, little fuse holder, and then hook it right. Or on the back, they've got 2 little studs that stick up on the back of the fuse box, and they both go to fuses. One's for trailer brakes, one's for a trailer battery power. You can put a really small fuse in one of those, like a 10 amp, and then just hook the wire to that. So either one of those studs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Instant fuse.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
Did you have another question?
My other question, yes. My other question was for wheel bearing on a 2014 Ford E350. My front right wheel bearing went bad. The inner bearing, it's all burnt up. I'm working on it right now. I cleaned it all out. What do I look for on the spindle and on the inside of the hub? It looks pretty clean to me. Just cleaning off the cloth. Like, how bad is bad enough that I need to change the spindle, which would be the whole hub, or the actual rotor needs to be replaced?
The spindle needs to be smooth. If that spindle doesn't look like it did when it was if it's changed color or something a little bit, you're fine. But if there's any grooves in it, it's not smooth. You can usually clean a little burr off with some emery cloth, but if it's not smooth, you need to replace that spindle. If the bearing's been spinning in there, that's bad. It can weaken that spindle. If it's spun so bad that it's multiple colors right where the bearing was, you want to replace that. As far as the rotor goes, if you're doing brakes, you got to put rotors on it anyways. But if not, if the bearing's spun in that rotor, you need to replace it.
Yeah, and that's unusual. Did you have like a catastrophic failure where this thing was like and loose, or was it just that you knew you had a vibration in there?
Just one day I was driving highway speeds and I started to get a pull to the right, and then I started feeling hot brakes. So after that happened a few times, and only when I've been braking repeatedly, I assumed it was a brake hose that collapsed and wasn't letting pressure back off. So I changed the brake hoses, and that issue went away. But then I started having to pull the right again after a longer trip after replacing the hoses, and to the point where it was starting to smoke. But I wasn't had a hot brake smell. It was just the back plate had flexed and was causing smoke and a hot smell. So then that's when I realized it was the bearings. I took it apart, and sure enough, the grease is all black on the inside around the inner bearing. So I'm just going to replace bearings, but I wanted to verify, do I have to replace the spindle, what to look for, how smooth is smooth. It is smooth to the touch. I don't really see any major discoloration. There's no grooving. So I want to make sure that was okay.
I would think it's probably fine. That's you caught it just in time, but when they start spinning the bearings, locking up, you're going to blue that metal, and you'd notice it. You'd see trauma on it, and at that point, you can just get another used spindle, and that's because they usually don't go bad that often. That particular spindle, that doesn't go bad that often. And a rotor itself, they're not as expensive as they used to be. I shouldn't say that. I've seen some of them go up in price now with some of the things that are happening out there, but if you didn't spin the bearing in there aggressively and the brake surface looks okay, you're probably fine.
Yeah, the biggest thing you got to look for is the sealing surface, where the seal will ride on that. You got to make sure that's nice and smooth. And some people say, well, I'll just take some sandpaper, emery cloth, and clean it up. Well, that makes that surface smaller if it's got grooves in it, and then it's not going to seal at all. But if you do need a spindle for that, car dash part is going to have unlimited amounts, I would have to say. I don't think there could be enough people that could buy that model spindle to deplete their inventory
it fits
sufficiently.
For 100 years on the vans. So.
We have got so many. They're just everywhere.
Keegan, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. When he said I hooked up the OBD2, I checked pin 16, he might as well have said, in my mind, hey, I have a Russian car, so I'm just going to ask the rest of this question in Russian. Because I was just out when you were talking about power. Yeah, that one was, I was out. I was out on that one hard. 866-594-4150. Let's go to West Virginia and talk to Tim. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Tim, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. A big fan, typically in podcast format.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Can you? Yep. So I'm a car guy, a typical kind of got brought into it from forced maintenance, typically lack of funds to do projects and whatnot. I do have a couple of older project cars, a 49 Chevy I chopped and working on that, and a 29 Model A hot rod I'm building.
Fun.
All right.
But this call is for 2007 Jeep Commander with the 5.7 Hemi. We've loved this vehicle. It's been great, but we've replaced the daily driver a couple years ago with a newer model. But I wanted to hold on to this one just as a beater, kind of. It's great for a snow vehicle where the kids are getting to driving ages. My question is, I'm looking for some financial advice, actually. So it's been parked. It doesn't get driven so much as I would like to. Looking to replace all the struts and wheel bearings and kind of the running gear of it. But you guys are probably familiar with like the clevis bolt seizing to the bushing and whatnot, all of that. My question is, due to sitting, I started up every once in a while to let the battery charge and just get things moving. I did that a few weeks ago, and I took a phone call, and I looked out the window and saw a cloud of steam coming from under the hood. I panicked. I was on a work call. I went out. I shut it off. I found that the plastic radiator on the side had cracked, and that's where the leak was coming from. My concern now is with all the maintenance items that the Jeep needs, and I was in panic mode. I didn't look at the temperature of what it got to. My concern is, since it overheated, since it was blowing a big ball of steam, what is the likeliness that I warp the head or ruin that 5.7 Hemi, or where would you start in rebuilding it? Get a radiator back in it and kind of diagnose from there, go from that. Like, you kind of get where I'm going with that.
Yeah, you start with a radiator and see what it did. Those engines are are tougher than you think. We have had people come in that have melted them down and they've needed to be replaced. But I've also had multiple people that have blown a hose off of one of those. They've driven it till it got hot a couple times, and then they repaired it. So, by just putting a radiator in a heater core, heater hose, and it was fine. So they typically, if you just lost some coolant, got it hot, you're fine. Where the problem comes in is if you were to go out and drive it without coolant in it and really try to force it to keep going until it lost all power. So start with the radiator.
To paraphrase and quote you, let your heart not be troubled yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Get a radiator, and then after that, if you're really nervous, do an exhaust gas test on the coolant. That could be an early indication that maybe you do have a problem, but most likely you're okay.
Tim, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. I'm getting some real animosity here. I'm getting pummeled by you guys.
I bought an 07 Saturn Sky. It was
really
built to a
cute.
race
I
car.
haven't even started yet, and you guys
I bought
are
my
already
Solstice
mad at
back.
me. All right, listen. If you watch the show on our YouTube channel, you can subscribe there. You can watch the show anywhere.
Yeah.
We've got social media all over. If you subscribe to the channel on YouTube and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Jeff Allen, congratulations from our friends over at Universal Technical Institute and Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage. I'm getting ready to add another Berkeley Classic to mine.
Oh, yeah?
Getting prepared. Yep.
Okay.
It's coming up.
So. Oh. The call we just had from West Virginia, Tim, was it Tim in West Virginia?
Almost
It was
heaven.
Tim in West Virginia.
West Virginia.
When he said, I'm kind of a car guy, and then said,
Kind of.
like, I'm chopping a 49 Chevy.
That's a real car guy.
That's
right
why
there.
when people say to me, hey, I have a question for you, you're a car guy. That's why I say, no, I'm not. Because he said, I'm a typical car guy. I don't know much, but I have a 49 Chevy I'm chopping and a Model T, and I'm working on this 07 Jeep. Model A. and I'm working on this 07 Jeep. He is
Different levels.
Yeah. So
There's
that's
different
why-
levels.
Yeah,
you,
for
you
sure.
can be a car guy, car gal with different levels of
Mhm.
carness.
Yeah, and that's why I say no when people approach me and say, well, you're a
People say,
car
well,
guy. I have
you're
a
a car
question.
guy. I was like, I'm learning stuff every day. I ran across some this week, and I went, oh, I don't know enough about that. I better really go study that. And I did, and I went, hey, great. I learned something new. Because there's so much misinformation.
But the difference for you, though, Russ, compared to Chris,
Fair.
is your ramp up on something new takes about that long.
If I want to.
Yeah. Whereas Chris would have to get
still can't put
or
the dishes in
or
the dishwasher.
myself, I'd have to get more basics before I would even be able to do the ramp up for that new thing you probably learned.
Exactly.
That's the levels.
Yeah. Yeah. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Michael. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Michael, what can we do for you?
Well, good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for putting on a great show. You guys really do a great job and put a lot of good information out there.
Thanks.
My question to pose you this morning is this. I've got a 2011 Nissan Titan that I recently purchased. It's got 103,000 miles on it. It's got the V8 5.6 auto. Drives great. Everything runs good. One concern that I have is I don't know the history complete. It was a one-owner vehicle. And I have no problem with the transmission or anything, but you really can't check it. And so consequently, it's just a twofold question. Is it really going to hurt if I change it, have somebody take a look at the transmission, maybe drop the pan and just check it over and put new fluid in it, a new filter, and just make sure it's more of a mind thing for myself? Is that going to be a feasible thing?
Absolutely not a problem. And if you look at most maintenance charts, even though they call that transmission non-serviced, I mean, the manufacturers, I mean, we've talked about this a fair amount on the show, but I don't want to make it sound like it's some sort of a conspiracy, but they're trying to make owners feel less responsible for so many things to worry about on their vehicle. So somebody made the decision at some point, you know what, this transmission fluid is pretty good nowadays. They make great fluid. This thing's not supposed to slip and break, so let's just not even let them check it. It doesn't evaporate. It doesn't burn away like engine oil. Let's just plug it. And so, yeah, usually. And so that's what they did. And they gave in a sense, a false sense of hope if you really are thinking long term. And so most experts on fluids would tell you that fluid does have a life regardless of what you do to it. And so now we have stuff, and we talked about this on an earlier call, that low mileage, been on the shelf, haven't used it for a while. I'm very seldom worried about the transmission when I go to take off to drive it. It's either the valves are working or they're not. You're going to, softly engage things, not just take off ramming it, and you're usually fine on a transmission. But to have that transmission fluid pan removed, inspect the fluid, do they have a magnet in that one, Russ, that you know of on a Nissan?
No, I don't think so.
But they can just inspect the fluid. They can, dump it, refill it. In some cases, there's certain vehicles you don't want to put the pressurized flush machine on. I don't know if this is one of those vehicles or not, but it'll tell us in our repair manuals what to do and what not to do. But I think it's a fine idea, especially when you got a vehicle like that that's, you're talking 15 years old, and the miles are at 100,000. That's probably a good point to do that.
Right. Is there anything else that I should look on for this type of vehicle? I did some research on it before I purchased it, and it runs out good. Is there anything else I should be looking at for, preventive maintenance, just to check that you guys know of for this type of vehicle?
Now, when you bought it, how many miles were on it?
103,000.
So you just got it. And what?
Yes.
And no service history at all that you can find? Did you do a Carfax or anything? Did you see anything there at all?
Yes, it did the Carfax and stuff. Everything seems to check out good. No, major collisions, wrecks, or anything like that.
Well, no, I was more interested in whether or not you'd seen a steady maintenance history, because sometimes, depending on where they had it serviced, it reports back to that service. Did you see anything like that?
No, I actually did not see anything like that specifically.
Well, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that they may not have been a reporting company, or that used a subscription service that matches up with what Carfax gets. But that's one. If you do see that, though, it's a thing you can use to find out. Oh gosh, look at this! Every 4,000 miles they were in getting oil changed.
And a good reason, if you're doing your own stuff, to just save that info so you can tell the next person. Here's the every 3,000 miles or 5,000 miles, I did the oil.
Yeah, because if I did it at Russ's service center, then it reports through our Mitchell system to Carfax.
Yeah.
He can't use the system unless he agrees to that, right, Russ?
Right.
I mean, you don't have a choice.
That's the new thing.
But if you're a smaller repair shop or an at-home garage and you don't have electronics, or you just use some old repair manuals online, that information will never get there.
Right.
So if you don't know the maintenance history, then I would say probably a good time to do a fuel injection service on the vehicle, just to make sure. What would you recommend for fuel injection service, Russ?
As far as a professional service where you're hooking up a machine to it and doing it, probably in that 90,000 mile range.
Yeah, he's at 100,000. I think it's time.
Yeah. And then
you can't go wrong. The worst it is a waste of that money of that. That's
you're not going to waste anything if you haven't done it.
Right.
I mean, even if you're running a service, so things like running BG 44K Platinum through your fuel tank, doing that like on a monthly basis is equivalent to when you go to get your teeth maintained. You're getting that, you're brushing them every day. That's like putting it in your tank. But you need a professional cleaning where you step one step up, and you can also do that. There's BG services that are heavier than that, where you're running the chemical introduced through the fuel rail. Same, so you're stepping it up. Two different types of services, but yeah, you still need the heavier service, like annually, and then the monthly for in between. If you want to keep that fuel system 100%, now you can go without it. That's your choice. If you don't, you'll watch some small changes in fuel trims, which will equate to fuel mileage and some losses.
And it can help you with the carbon buildups and cleaning them up if they're not petrified on there yet.
Just basic longevity of the
so it's a
vehicle.
helpful thing. So I would recommend just doing that in the next period of time. If it's running smooth, it's not a rush, but it's something that you should.
It's a pretty strong vehicle.
Yes, it is.
good vehicle. But if you can prevent some of that carbon, our biggest problem we've had with this, and pretty much our only one, has been occasionally when we've got one that has had some carbon issues and it's had some valve issues where a valve is stuck, and we've had some head issues on them. But that's about it.
So fuel injection system maintenance might be on your agenda. Have someone do a test on the coolant. You're definitely in range for a coolant flush, but they can do a litmus test on that fluid and see what kind of shape it's in to make sure. But
A literal litmus test.
I think so.
That's not just a litmus test for life.
You're
That's
going to use a chemical strip.
It's a
Litmus
litmus
paper.
test. It's an actual litmus test. How often do you get to do an actual litmus
How
test?
often do I get to say litmus test
Right.
on the radio?
Exactly. Does that help you out there, Michael?
That is perfect, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys do a great job, and thank you for the information.
Thank you very
You're
much
welcome.
for the call. Good luck. And that is, I had a conversation recently about this. Jump in on when you said that they make them so you don't have to service them. The transmission works and they're not really serviceable. In general, I mean, they're in the business to sell cars and so in general, that does
It works.
play out.
It works fine.
And we were talking about, I said, but keep in mind, we're a car show. So we don't take calls every week of everybody whose transmission never failed because they never serviced it because it was never supposed to be serviced. So when it's like when you have a problem with your F-150 and you go look online, you'll see that every single person who's ever had a truck and posted online has a problem, but that's not necessarily the case in the world.
Chris, what we don't get very often, very rarely, is a customer that comes in and says, "Why do you think my transmission failed? I've been servicing it regularly, like every 30,000 miles. And let's just pick one that needed to be done at 30. I've been doing it every 30. Why do you think it failed?" I almost never hear that.
Right.
But it's like, oh, well, why did it go out? Well, it's got 148,000 miles and you never serviced it. Well, do I really need to? It doesn't even have a dipstick. Yeah, see this fluid? Ugh.
Yeah.
Of course, same way with engines. Well, why do you think my timing chains went out? I've been changing my oil every 3 months, 3,000 on this one, and it looks pretty clean. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just working on one that's in our shop right now, and the oil looks horrible in it. Oh no! Since you told me I need to change that oil, I've been right on it. Yeah, you're 3,000 over this time. So how many have you been over
Hey, that can happen.
the last few times? Well, I saw one that was pretty dirty in this shop this week, and I was thinking, well, if that was mine, I'd be changing oil a lot more.
Is that mine?
Yes.
Oh,
And I didn't even have.
You weren't
do
over.
we have it on video?
No,
Do we have that
We do.
bad
I
oil?
was
on
right
video?
on the money. On the,
We do,
on the
but he
change.
is not over on it, but it is really black. But this
Okay.
vehicle is burning oil. So now add that to 6.2. Camshaft issues sometimes, the rod bearing issues
I want to
sometimes,
sell it.
Right.
and now with an engine, and now oil burning. And it's not coming through that PCV. It's not a valve cover issue. So it's got a burning. So I would guess the dirty oil is coming from blow by past those pistons into the.
Maybe when I was doing tornado chasing, I pushed it too hard.
I don't think
Or
so.
tornado running.
866-594-4150. I might come back to that. That was an intriguing comment that deserves follow-up. But right now, let's go to Georgia and talk to Tony. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Tony, what can we do for you?
You guys are awesome. I appreciate you. I just had another question of comparing two vehicles. My wife really liked the 2022 Kia Carnival, and it has a 3.5 V6. I don't know if they use that in other Kia vehicles, whatever, but I didn't know if like the Kia engines, are they junk? I know there are some that they had a lot of problems with, and I didn't know if like in that year range if that was the thing. And then also comparing that to maybe like a 18, 19, 20 Honda Odyssey V6. What about that V6 engine? You know, I have a friend that has had a 2014 Honda Odyssey, and it had this ring issue, and they said they never spent more money on any vehicle they've ever owned, besides this Honda Odyssey. So, yeah. So anyway, so what are your thoughts on that in the transmissions and stuff on those two? Are they, anyway?
So do you want a carnival in your life or an Odyssey?
Either way.
What years of carnivals are you looking at?
Well, the Carnival, I think it just came out in 2022. It was called the whatever the old name of the van was before that.
Sedona?
Sorrento. It does. Yes, Sedona. Yes, right. So it would have to be somewhere, starting in 20.
Yeah, I've got one of our people that drive truck for us that have a Carnival, and they really like it. They've had it for a while, and they really do like it.
It's a striking vehicle.
Yeah, they look great. That's why I can see where she likes it. They do like the vehicle. I would just say, though, that if I was a Vegas odds maker on engines and I was involved in the underwriting of the odds, I'm going to bet on Honda over Kia.
Just on the track record.
Just in general.
Yeah.
I mean, but that particular motor we don't sell as many of by any means.
It's not very old yet.
As we do of the 2.4s and some of the other ones that we've had problems with.
Give us
the 3.0s.
another 2 years. We'll let
we
you
don't. We might not have enough Carnival history to really get it, but it would start showing itself by now because there's a lot of them out there that are getting to have 100,000 miles on them, but they didn't sell a ton of them either. I mean, as many as it's a van. They sell a lot of them, but not a ton of them.
Yeah,
you don't get as much market exposure. But I guess I would leave it at back where I started. If I was a Vegas odds maker and I had to be involved in making the odds on how long is a engine going to last, I would bet on Honda over Kia.
And some companies, Tony, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Some companies have done a better job of keeping, replacing things and not getting out into the grand public.
Kia does a nice job of the way they handle their bad engine claims so they don't end up affecting their
future
JD Power and stuff like that.
Right.
They've got a certain way they do things that keeps their track record looking better than it may be at times.
Yes. And that's maybe a positive just in general that they maybe. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here on the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Mark. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Mark, what can we do for you?
Well, I have a 2002 Honda CR-V, and I've been getting that VTEC issue. The code's 1259. Another one I got is 2506. Anyway, it's always around 2,700 RPM, and my Honda starts bucking and loses its speed. You have to come down and feather the gas pedal to try to keep going. It doesn't ever stop, but I've replaced the VTEC. I've replaced all of my spark plugs. I've actually replaced the catalytic converter and both O2 sensors, and just been trying to chase this issue down. I've even replaced the VTEC screen a couple times, thinking that was it, but can't seem to resolve the issue.
Wow, you've done everything that could possibly cause this issue, other than putting a computer in it or a wiring harness. That something outside. You've done all the repairs. This is one of those things when this happens, it might be time to move on into a shop where they can try to, if it's duplicatable, where it's doing it every single time, get it in and have them go through it.
They have to heat it up a little bit. I mean, when it's cold, starting out cold, they don't have the issues, but 3-4 minutes into the drive, and that's when we started experiencing that bucking and stuff. And I don't know what else I can do. I haven't tried the Honda issued parts, but I've seen other people on the CRV Owners Group forum that have replaced it with the actual Honda OEM, and it hasn't resolved the issue either. So
right.
And the motor, we had a motor flown in. It was at 75,000 miles, and I got about 175,000 miles on that motor, but never had a problem here until just say September this year. It was flawless. So
more
diagnosis on that one. You've already hit the main things.
If you had that in your shop and it was duplicatable, like you said, and it was doing it, Russ, what would you be doing?
Well, you got to look at the data. You got to check the pressures on that oil system, see what's going on, and that's back pressure on the exhaust, fuel pressure.
The fact that it's doing it every time is good for him, kind of, right?
Yeah.
That it's findable, but the things he's done.
Yeah, it's like Russ brought up, the oil pressure has to do with how the cams adjust. So your timing is variable throughout the cycle.
Could have a timing chain issue going on.
Possibly. So but the fact that it's duplicatable, though, you just walk your way through the parameters with live data and see what's happening as it happens.
One step at a time.
And that's not something that is always going to show up with a code.
Right.
It's just going to be seeing what's happening as this thing is doing this and what is causing the misfire. Now, I know that's why you called us and you want an answer, but
that's the next.
That may not be able to be received over the radio without.
The good news is you've done the things that you could, and now you can take the next step.
And 175,000 miles and second motor. Is it burn any oil or anything, or has it been pretty, like you said, pretty good all the way through?
Yep. And that was one of the first things, they said, make sure your oil, you make sure you add oil. It's not low on oil because the pressure, it's a pressure sensor thing. And so, yeah, I've pretty much done everything I can. Trying to avoid taking me into a shop and have them tell the same thing, but that's probably where I got to go.
That's where you're at.
Oh, it's sad.
Mark,
wish we had something better for you.
Thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Idaho, let's talk to John. You're on the End of the Hood Show. John, what can we do for you?
I was just wondering, I'm in my 60s, but I failed to grow up, so I just sold my 5-liter Mustang. I'm accumulating grandkids, and I just love them to death, and they like going fast with Grandpa periodically.
Love it.
I've got to get a back seat. So I sold my Mustang yesterday. I'm really considering getting a Challenger with either the 6.1 or the 6.4, kind of price dependent, because it is kind of a fun car. I've got my Super Duty diesel that I drive, and then my wife's got her Edge. But I would just like to hear what you guys have to say about the 6.1, 6.4. I've done my research on them, and I know that there can be lubrication issues with the cams, the cylinder cut out on the 6.4s. Now, I understand Dodge has done a pretty good job on that, but I also know that, like, if I throw a cold air kit or if I throw a higher lift cam in it, they have kits that can cause problems. But I just like to hear what you guys have to say about the two Hemis and the ups and downs and what to watch for, and if that's a good idea to go that direction. So
they've been really good, especially in the cars. We've had very little issue. I've got several friends with those, and they've had no issues with them so far. So I wouldn't be too afraid of either one of those engines. And if you're going to pull it apart and put a cam in there, just disable the AFM. Just get rid of it. That's the time to change it while you've got it apart. So then you don't have to worry about a cam issue in that. You can put a little bigger cam in it, get rid of the active fuel management, and you're good to go. I would say if I owned one of those and that was gone, I'd consider it a pretty bulletproof engine. I wouldn't be worried about anything going down the road if I was traveling.
I'd be more aware of the history of the vehicle and who owned it and how it was used than probably worrying about the engine itself.
There you go. I don't think you need us at all, John. I think
he's got it nailed, but he just wanted some confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted some security, little hug, make sure he's going down the right road. I think he is. I think that I'd be concerned about how it was used. I'd look at transmission fluid. Transmissions are still expensive. Make sure somebody just hasn't been railing on this thing, because they are fun to rail on. And but they're pretty tough.
I'll say this. If you go look at a Challenger, the person selling it has brand new tires. It's I put brand new tires on it. Be leery.
They had fun too.
You want tires that are about 80% worn that have been on there for like 4 years.
Yeah.
There you
go look at a house and they've just painted the basement and redid the carpet. Don't buy that house. That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us. Hour 2 is coming up. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. And I feel attacked.
Why?
You guys have been all over me today for things I haven't done yet.
Because
so did you notice?
I need to get a vehicle, and you're already giving me grief for...
You have poor auto buying sense? Sorry.
I think we just had a breakthrough in the break.
Pestering you.
We had a breakthrough in the break, I think.
Because you were nice about it, finally. After the whole morning, you were finally nice about it.
I shut up and he did the talking.
Yeah. Well, he was on me too. I haven't started yet. Give me a break. I haven't even started pestering you yet.
We're scared for the start.
You have. I will say this. You have done a very good job of heading me off already with now I'm thinking I've already texted you too much and asked you too many questions. I haven't even started yet, so you kind of got ahead. Good job. You got ahead of it.
There's a whole weekend ahead.
Yeah, I know. For sure.
A long weekend.
866-594-4150. We're going to start in Oklahoma and talk to Deanne. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Deanne, what can we do for you?
Hi. My husband had a Acura, and that's by Honda, right?
It is. That's their flagship brand. They take it to a next level from Honda with Acura.
They can sure have it. I'll tell you what. I don't drive automatics. I haven't since I worked for the department, but I have never driven that car. And husband passed in October, so anyway. That it's been sitting there, and I had AAA come and jump it and get the air up in the tires, all that, and it wouldn't keep it charged. So they're putting a new battery in there now. But I'm not especially proud of that car. Like I said, I've never driven it. I've got two others. I drive my '97 Honda everywhere, and there's a Mitsubishi that is a 2014 in the garage. And it can be my spare. I'd kind of like to get rid of that Acura, to tell you the truth.
Let's back up the bus a little bit here. What kind of Acura is this, and what year is it? I'd like to kind of zone in on this a little tighter.
TSX or SXT or something like that.
TSX, I think, is right. And
okay.
And it's like a 2010, 11, 6?
Oh, I wish, But no, it's a 06.
Early Acura. They started making them in the 90s, but they were meant to have a sportier feel, more of a sports sedan than a cruiser sedan as a Honda, if that was the case. They probably do feel different than your Honda.
But it's an automatic. That was her question. Yeah. She says, I don't like it because it's an automatic.
It's not only that, but it looks kind of grimy, like somebody's and my sister-in-law said that the guy that had it, Dean's brother, he smoked in it all the time.
Ugh.
I can't stand that crap.
Well, that's not Acura's fault.
It is now. So I'm wondering what I ought to do.
I know exactly what you should do. You take that thing you get it in a detail shop and you sell it for some good money, because those Acura TSX are still bringing very good dollars. If it's a decent car,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, if you can get that thing, if you can get a detailer to clean it up nice where it looks and smells pretty.
And they got
it'll
ozone.
sell.
They got ozone machines they can
Oh,
stick
yeah.
in there to help with that smoke smell.
Like an old dirty hotel room. They'll clean that thing up and they'll get that thing sold. That it'll sell quickly because it's still, don't trade it in. They'll give you nothing for it.
How many
But
miles are on
you
it?
could sell it.
If probably a lot, maybe 150.
It'll still sell.
Yep, there's people that like those cars. And you know what? And for you being more particular about how you feel about the car, there's other people that for them that's just fine and what they're looking for. And so,
Okay.
and there's a butt for every seat, if you've ever heard that term before. And
I didn't, but
that,
but I'm glad to know it now. I hate to miss out on that.
well, and for some,
You guys,
for sometimes, you know, I'll have something that I absolutely love, and I think it's the greatest thing, and somebody says, I can't stand that.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes both ways on those sort of things. So that car will, Russ hit it right on the head. It'll still sell. If it was a Honda Accord, it would probably sell quicker, but you're still gonna sell that TSX pretty quick.
She's in Oklahoma. It'll sell fast.
Yeah.
Well-
it's probably really clean on the body's not rusted.
Trucks are Acuras. They'll go.
Yeah, you'll do well.
no, it's got a dent where Dean backed into a pole.
How big?
I don't know, about size of your hand.
Is it in the bumper?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is it on the bumper?
No.
That's an 06 size dent. It's
Yeah.
it fits an 06. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
If that was a
I gotcha.
2021, that's too big of a dent probably, but it's an 06 size dent. I really, I think if you clean that car up, get a good battery in it, make sure it's running, working well, you can put that out there on a for sale by owner lot if you don't want to do it yourself. But just do a little research. Jump on the internet, look around. You know, we used to have a sponsor called Autotempest.com. Car Gurus is another one we use quite a bit. And you can find in that one regionally around you. You can pick a zone around you and you'll see a combination of private sales, dealer sales, and all kind of blended together. And you can sort by miles with a little filter, and you just get an idea what things are being offered for sale for, and you'll be surprised.
Yeah. You're not going to retire off it, but
No.
it's worth more than probably you think.
It's worth more than how you feel about it.
Exactly. And it is important that she gets rid of it because she does not like the
No,
car.
we can hear that right off the bat.
Yeah, for sure.
Right off the jump.
Do not like. Okay, guys, Shannon and Russ, thank you so much.
Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
call, Deanne. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. You alluded in an earlier hour to little bit of driving you did.
Well, it was just that I had to, because we were lazy.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I were up in Minneapolis for, well, it would have been the second round of the NBA playoffs to watch our Timberwolves we like to watch play. They didn't perform very well their last game, but we're going back again. We're going to go back up there, so hopefully it doesn't repeat itself.
Is it 1-1 right now?
0-1.
0-1.
They just
Okay.
started.
Okay.
Just started. At the time of the show, it's 0-1.
Okay.
Hopefully it changes tonight.
Right.
But we were coming back, and we'd all day long, and the night before, and the day before, they had been warning about the storm system moving in over the weekend. And
That's like the Northern Tornado Alley.
the Minneapolis people we were at the malls that we stopped at, the place we stopped at, they were all acting like a snowstorm would be around here, that you got to get home.
Yeah.
This is coming. It was the first kind of bigger storm system, and everybody was hyped up and worried and checking their phones. And we're just farm kids saying, we got time in Minneapolis. Let's just do a few more things. My dad called me. He goes, you guys, you're coming home? You're watching the weather? Yeah, we're watching it. And so by the time we decided to leave Minneapolis, I looked and I'm like, okay, Tammy, here's what we got to do. Here's the line of storms. We can't go Highway 60 like we normally do because we're going to run right through the middle of it. So it looks like if we just bust it south on I-35, we can get on the leading edge, back edge of this and cut across. I wasn't wrong, but we got down to I-90, and as we're going forward, we're driving towards Blue Earth, Fairmont, in blue-green skies ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
And there was hail in the system, and that's what I was most worried about. And there was later, well, I'll get to that, but so I said, okay, we're going to drop south. And so we picked a highway before Blue Earth, and we started dropping south and watching the clouds, and we were cruising along pretty good because I've done this before. And I said, you see that gap over there in the clouds? We're heading for that. And so it was, before we knew it, we were on County Road 9 or Highway 9 in Iowa, and we were in Sway City, Iowa, and we thought we had completed our task.
Mm-hmm.
There was daylight ahead
You're
of us.
feeling pretty good about yourself?
I could see that stuff had passed. We're listening to local radio. Please support local radio for
Yes.
weather and things like this. My goodness. The local stations are talking about what's going on. They got the spotters out. We're driving by rural firemen in the field approaches, watching the clouds. But we needed gas, and we needed to pee. We needed snacks.
Sure.
It was exhilarating.
Exciting.
Yeah. So Sway City, I think it was a Sinclair, and we probably hung out there about 5 minutes longer than we should have.
Okay.
And so we took off further to going back to the west, and they started putting out some new warnings.
Mm-hmm.
The system was joining back together again. And so as I'm driving on 9, heading for this gap, all of a sudden, just instant, like somebody took buckets of rain and threw them on us. And then all of a sudden, ping, ping, ping.
Oh, no.
Started hail. And so then our phones went off on an emergency alert for a tornado warning. So the system had reformed, and it was like right there.
Right over you.
Right over us. And so I said, okay, we're going north. And the next road that we got, we're turning right. So thank goodness the next road was a paved road. I don't know what it was. And we just busted north, found out where the speed limiter was on my truck again. And we ended up getting far enough north where the pinging stopped.
Okay.
And then we cut in on the next pavement. We ended up, I don't know what town it was, but we eventually did cut through that gap.
Okay.
But we drove away, and behind us, they had tornadoes.
Oh, okay.
And there was that's the ones that kind of cruised up through Faribault, and they had damage. And so we succeeded in the mission, but it wasn't without a little exhilaration.
Right.
And I kind of enjoyed it.
I was...
and we got home, and we had a good story to tell.
I was driving the same thing when those storms were coming through, and then I was like, "Oh, I don't think it's going to be that bad. It's okay." And then I saw tornado chasers.
They were everywhere.
Storm chasers.
As we were coming down I-35,
down I-90.
they were sitting on the exits. It was a lot of.
I got fed
a lot of. I'm going to say entry-level storm chasers.
Sure,
it looked like.
Sure. I got fed on YouTube a live feed, and when I clicked on it, they had just gone through my town. I was like, oh, okay.
Well,
right.
our friend Joe that we know from Audio Playground, he goes out and does storm chasing, and he had been out chasing that storm, and he said that he ran across 40 some people that were out there. That's a recipe for a problem. Then you throw me in there trying to get away from it.
Right.
That's why things go wrong.
Let's go to Kansas and talk to Glenn. You're on the Under the Hood show. Glenn, what can we do for you?
Yes, I have a 2014 Impala and Chevy Impala, and it had a chronic problem with the ABS grabs. We've replaced 2 aftermarket hubs and now 2 General Motors hubs, and it just continually is having a wiring issue that makes when you back up, it'll grunt and grab and growl, and pull forward, turning your wheels a little bit makes it do it too. It doesn't ever bother at all going down the road. It's just when you back out and pull forward.
Is this just for me to know? Is this the newer, more modern Impala or the classic Impala?
It's the older style. It's a limited. It's a model. They split the body designs mid-year in 2014.
Correct. So this is an older system.
It's the older body style.
They had, if you've replaced the hubs on that multiple times and you're still getting this, you probably got a wire problem, where that wire from the hub where it plugs in up above it, there's a jumper harness in there. And they twist when the struts are turning back and forth. The wires are moving, and that's going to cause an issue with these. Huge problem with those cars from 06, 07 on up to that old body style 14. They sell replacement harnesses. I believe that Dorman Products, our partner, still carries that part number for those, and you can pick them up pretty much any auto parts store. And that you replace that. That's where I'd go next. If you've done more than one hub. I tell people, have you looked at the wiring? They're like, well, I don't know. It's there. It seems okay. Well, you can't really see. It breaks inside, and as it twists, it makes a poor connection. the resistance changes, and that sets off the ABS.
Does that help you out there, Glenn?
Because they should be able to do the test and find out where that signal is coming from that's giving the alert.
Well, it'll show you. It'll just show you which wheel is going off, but as it's happening, it's not going to show you after. There's going to be no code.
But if you can get somebody at a shop, they'll be able to say, all right, we need to concentrate on this position. We got to concentrate. There's something going on in the right front.
It is interesting. Glenn, good luck. That's a car that a 2014 is still a current car, really. I mean, it's 12 years old, but it goes back.
Yeah,
that
car
version
is-
goes back 25 years.
We've learned everything about that car by the time they switched it over.
Yeah.
I'm driving one today.
Yeah, you are, aren't you? I made a joke when we came in the parking lot. I called him Impala Man.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
Eight 594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Jay in Minnesota. Jay, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, I got a 96 S10 5-speed, and it popped out the hydraulic line to the clutch. Is there a way of bleeding that? I put the line back in. Can you bleed that from the top? Is there any way of doing that?
For the brakes?
Hydraulic clutch.
Oh, the clutch?
Clutch
No,
slave setup.
no, absolutely not. You've got to bleed it. You've got to bleed it from the bottom.
And how do you do that? That's he's wondering how he's going to do that.
Well, you need to crack the bleeder open on the bottom and down in the slave cylinder and bleed it out, just like brakes.
Well, I know, but my pickup has a big brace going from the engine to the transfer case.
Right, you got to take it off.
Is that what has to be? Get that out of the way.
How do I get that off?
Bolt. And you take all the bolts out of it. It's got like 8 bolts in it. You take them out, and you're good to go.
He seems like he's more nervous than that, Russ.
Yeah.
He's looking at this and
You've
feeling
gotta
overwhelmed.
Yeah, if you're overwhelmed with that, it needs to go into a shop. They'll put it on a hoist, take that grate off, and then they'll bleed it out.
So it's a standard thing, but it's a procedure.
Yeah,
I mean, that you're going to have
take
to
this. You got to take that splash shield off of there.
I know, like on the Camaros, they used to always ship them new ones all connected yet.
Yeah, you can buy it as a whole unit.
But when you do that, then you got to take and drop out your transmission in order to get access to it. So you don't want to do that. So yeah, you're going to have to get in there and find that bleeder. Has it broke recently and have been sitting around for a while, and you've been thinking about this, or where are you at?
Yeah, it's just a farm truck. It's all rusted out, and the brakes are rusted out, and the clutch didn't work, so it was hard to drive.
Well, you could still do it, but you got to be really creative.
Put it in second gear, forward low, and go for it.
You've done some of that, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But,
fun.
I got all those shields off, but there's that big brace that goes from the engine to the transfer case, and it goes right over that hole, and I can't get the bolt out where it hooks to the engine.
And that's when you said this is an older farm truck that's rusty, and
it changed your mental picture.
We did,
didn't
and it makes it hard. Our partners at PB Blaster would tell you to use the control flow hose and just get a spray right on that thing, top and bottom, and
that's a choice too.
and let it soak. Give it a weekend of soaking. Maybe hit it a couple times and just see if maybe you can get that thing loose. Otherwise, I've seen people take some measures to. One bolt might not go back in again. That one bolt might get removed, and if it's an old farm truck and you kind of know what you're dealing with, you sometimes have to get a little farmer ingenuity involved in those sort of things.
Yeah,
we've done that. Are you capable of that, Jay?
Oh yes, I live on a farm all my life.
Yep. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You might have a tool there that could blast the head
Handle
of that bolt
that.
off, and it might not go back in again.
Just
But if you got 7 other ones on the truck holding it on, it might be fine going forward.
Jay, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. The Under the Hood Show is not a...
Play the endorsement again.
Right. Let's
The
talk.
disclaimer, I mean.
Let's talk to Mark in Oklahoma. Mark, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hi, guys. Thanks for talking to me.
You bet.
I'm looking to buy a used truck. Will be my everyday vehicle, plus will tow my travel trailer on about 3 trips each year, and that weighs about 6,600 pounds. I like Toyotas. I used to pull it with a 2007 Tundra with a 5.7 liter, but only got about 9.5 miles per gallon. Now I'm looking at either like a 2021 Tundra with the 5.7 again, or maybe a 2023 with a 3.5 liter turbo V6 that's supposed to have more towing capacity than the 5.7, gets better gas mileage. But here's the trick. My local mechanic says they are not a fan of the 3.5 liter turbo V6, and it's prone to issues, but he loves the 5.7 liter in the 2021 model. I guess my question is, have you had experiences with lots of issues with that 3.5 liter V6?
First of all, I have to tell you that when I looked up at our caller screen and I read Mark, OK used trucks,
I saw the sign.
And I thought of the old sign at the GM dealerships.
Yeah.
And I figured for sure this was going to be a question about a GM truck.
Yeah.
And I just, did you have the same thing
I
happen?
did. Yeah.
Because I remember we were over at the Spolmer Motor Auction. He was selling, and he had a ton of that OK used stuff, and it was bringing a ton of money for those signs and the little things they'd put out in the parking lot.
They're just okay.
Yeah, but
When
we'll
we'll
get back to this.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about these trucks, Mark. Stay right where you are. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel and all our social medias for the most part. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at Under the Hood Show, you could, underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Roger Collins, congratulations from our friends over at Berkeley One Classic, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage, and Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu.
All right, Shannon, let's go back to Mark in Oklahoma and the trucks he's looking at.
Mark, your camper itself, you said 6,000 pounds, right?
About 6,600 loaded.
Okay. That weight is going to fit about any of the 1,500 trucks out there. There's going to be a few option packages that don't hit that mark, but that's going to be like the off-road trucks, and some of them, they don't always have as high of a tow rating. But all the basic 1,500 series trucks past, what would you say, Russ, 2017, 16, 15, somewhere in there?
Yeah, they're all going to be
like 8,000 pounds.
Yeah.
How happy are we that Mark said 6,600 pounds loaded?
I like that.
That's good.
I'm glad he did not say 8,900 pounds loaded and I pull it 3 times a year, because then I got to get a little nervous.
Or empty, just the rating of it.
Yeah. So he's smart. He knows what his loaded weight is.
Yeah.
He's thinking about that 3.5 turbo. I think there's some bad vibes out there about that, because they did have some recall issues on recent ones, and I think it's put some bad vibes out there. Heck of an engine, just like a Ford EcoBoost. But Russ and I have both seen pulled heavy on the wrong day with the wrong wind in the wrong temperature. We've seen those turbo engines build up a lot of heat and have a problem. It does not happen all the time, but we've seen it, where all of a sudden they'll overheat, turbos get super hot, cylinder temperature gets super high, and something just breaks. But it's not an epidemic, but it does happen. Much rather pull with a non-turbo vehicle than a turbo vehicle if I have a choice. Is that fair, Russ?
If you've got a turbo engine, typically on a 1-to-1 turbo, so every turbo you have, if you push 1 pound of boost into the intake, you're applying 1 pound of back pressure to the exhaust. So you're overcoming that. You're stuffing more air in the intake to get the compression up higher and completely fill the cylinder to give you more power. but you're sacrificing it on the back end. You're getting an exhaust that's getting back pressure too. You know what that does to cylinder heads? Gaskets gets hot. Those exhaust EGTs, exhaust gas temperatures, go up and they cause damage. So if a supercharged engine is not the same thing, supercharged driven off a belt. So you got one of these with a supercharger, it's a whole different thing. But when you get turbo engines, yes, I'd prefer a non-turbo engine for towing, unless it's a big diesel truck that is designed that way and still has some things to
because they're getting crazy horsepower and torque numbers out of these engines.
Yeah,
using the turbocharged technology, which has been around like for a long time, and they design and engineer them to a certain capacity. But we still see things break when people get near those capacities.
If you've got something you've got a big spread, if let's say you're 7,000 pounds fully loaded on the worst day, and you've got a truck that's capable of pulling 12, I don't have a problem using a turbo. But if it's 7,000 and our turbo is maxed out at 8, that's too close for me. I don't like. It's too close for comfort.
Does that make sense, Roger? What we're saying,
Mark,
excuse me.
Yeah, it does. Now my trailer, just looking at it, it seems to have a lot of wind resistance, which I think makes the 6,600 pounds maybe feel like more to the engine. Maybe.
Well, that's why we talk about 80% is kind of a rule of thumb. And sometimes if it's windy and hilly, it's different.
I have that problem because I can pull a 9,000 pound bumper tow trailer with my truck, and it set the cruise. It's like nothing. And when I pull my 7,000 pound fifth wheel, it's like pulling a brick against the wind. It just doesn't go. You know, it's very hard. There's a huge difference. So yes, you can run into that with wind resistance, and that is like towing. You've increased the weight by pushing the wind.
Do you know on the turbo Toyota that you've checked into what the tow rating is on that? Because I don't know that right off the top of my head.
It's about 11.5 or something like that.
Yeah, that's plenty of a spread for what you got.
They've engineered that to be the safe limit to them when they engineered it. Is it capable of more? A little more maybe, but should you be dialing back from that 100%? So you're at a little over half of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to be fine for the little bit of towing that you do. So I think you'd be safe to go with either one, but we're just telling you our preference from what we've seen with experience.
Is there any reason to think the 2021 5.7 liter will get any better gas mileage than my old 2007 5.7 liter? Have they done anything to maybe increase the gas mileage between the two?
Well, they've tried to increase efficiency, which increases fuel mileage, your economy, and power ratings and things like that. But don't expect a major jump when you're towing. You're gonna lose. I could see you going from maybe 10 to 12 or 13, but I wouldn't expect you're going from 10 to more. I don't believe they changed what did they change in the transmission in that, Shannon? As far as
if they went to an extra gear or not, but I still think you're going to experience that 7 to 12 range. Pulling,
depending on where you're pulling.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
And turbo engines,
Mark, thanks
when
very
they're
much for the
not
call.
pulling, they get incredible gas mileage. When they're pulling, they're right in the toilet.
they go the same direction as the other
ones. You got
ones.
an EcoBoost truck, you're like, oh, I get 28 miles to the gallon when I drive this around. How come I only get 6 or 7 when I'm pulling my 8,000 pound camper? Because that's what they do.
What's funny is 2 miles to the gallon doesn't seem like much unless you're getting 10, and then 12 seems like a pretty good bump. Boy, do I feel good about Mark and towing versus when other people call. Sometimes we get a call and they want, and you're just
optimistic towing call there. He's right.
He's on it.
He's not trying to push the limit and then get us to like validate it.
He thought of the load. He thought of the wind. I'm confident in you, Mark. 866. What's the number?
594-4150.
I was looking at other numbers while I said that, and I confused myself.
We got your back.
Let's talk to Rock. You're on the Under the Hood show, Rock. What can we do for you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Rock Mays. I wanted to tell you, I didn't find your show until about 6 months ago, and I don't know how I ever missed it. But oh my God, I'm so glad I found it because I'm going on Spotify and I'm going all the way back.
Well,
and
thanks.
listening.
Thank you very much. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Learning lots. A lot of stuff is starting to click, and like, oh, okay, that's how that works. So yeah, really interesting. But I've got a 1999 F350. I got basically three questions. One, when I will, and every once in a while, when I put it in park, it revs up, and it revs up enough that I look around to see if anybody's looking at me. It's like I've hit the gas, and I haven't because I've got my foot on the brake. And it doesn't do it every time. So any thoughts on that?
What motor is in this? Is the Super Duty
It's
350?
a 7.3 diesel. Sorry. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a dually 7.3 diesel.
I'm concerned you might have a pump going out. That's one of the symptoms we would see when that would happen. That and when you turn the key off, they keep going for a little bit, and they shut off. They rev up.
Yeah, well, this one isn't. I know I said that it was when I turned it off, but I paid close attention to it, and it happens when I put it in park, not shutting it off.
Okay.
So I put it in park, it revs up, and then drops right back down, and it does it. Sometimes it revs up pretty good, and other times it'll just go up a little bit and then down.
Well, I bet if you put it in
then,
neutral, it'll do the same thing. Instead of putting it in park, just put it in neutral when you're stopped and see if it does the same thing. If it does, it could still be that pump. You know, you take the load off it and it revs up, and then the computer sees that there's a change and drops it back down. It's just not able to control its fuel feed as quickly as it should. Does it ever surge going down the road? If you set the cruise or anything, does it surge and not keep it steady?
That's another question. I don't have cruise, and I have put like the steering column, and I would like to have cruise because my foot gets tired on long trips. And I haven't found anybody that can do it for me because it's older.
Are you trying to add the cruise in?
I would like to, yes. I've replaced the steering column. It's got the brake, and I've taken it to Ford and thinking that it needed to be programmed. And they're like, we really can't see where we would turn that on. So that was kind of a side question. But so you think it's the fuel pump that is in the tank?
No, the injection pump on the engine.
The high pressure pump is what Russ is wondering about.
Yeah.
Which is not what you want to hear because that's the more expensive item to have to work with. And this one thing you could also check too, and this could be me just wishing, but making sure that the range switch on the transmission and the wiring harness that goes to it, maybe there's something wrong there and it's not getting the right signal to what position it's in, and it's causing it to make a different choice on what it's doing. Because as you move that indicator, the range indicator, which is on the side of the transmission, they would fail on some of those trannies, and we'd see different problems. But that's probably not likely. But it's something that they could check, not especially on a diesel. If it was a gas motor, it'd probably be more likely for that problem than a diesel.
Can I put a gauge on a high pressure and tell anything?
Yeah, what would the procedure be, Russ, to check that out?
It's done with the scanner and checking it. Yeah, you can't just hook a gauge on the injection lines on those because they're under the valve covers. It's all electrical.
Yeah, so there's enough electronics involved though. You can see the pressures on your scanners.
You can see everything on the scanner that would be causing things. See what everything's.
But you'd have to but you'd be watching it live to do that,
right?
Versus
not going to set
I have an OTC scanner that I can look at it. So, and you just go into live diagnostics or whatever.
Right.
Pull
Start looking at stuff if you know what you're looking for.
Fuel injector.
Yeah,
I don't. That's why I'm on here.
Which ones is he looking for?
Yeah, there's a lot of data in there to look at.
Yes. Okay.
You may end up going to a diesel shop to have them look and see what they see.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. One other question. You've talked about oil additives, and I've been, on the Hot Shot and the B12, line. So if I've got, skid steers and if I want to protect and I just change oil in them, can I put the protection stuff in there that gets into the metal, or do I need to clean it out first? Or
what are we talking about? On
what
the
should I
engines,
do?
like the
Yeah, and the engine, like the oil, oil change, just protecting your engine with. I think you talked about the hot shot one where it gets into a molecular level.
well, there's on the
couple.
that hot shot secret that is for protecting your injection pump. I mean, there's more than one product, but they're EDT you're using in your fuel to protect that, but also you can put the oil protectant in as well. But what you're trying to do is when you put an additive in to that oil, you want something that's going to treat the metal and not the oil. It's going to give you less friction on those parts and help them to last longer.
Can we start like a compound pharmacy where we bring it all into one and someone can just come in and get one thing with everything mixed in, and we
have several different additives that we use and several different partners we use in our own shop, and a lot of them, some people say, well, I don't like that one, so what about this one? Oh yeah, we use that as well, and it's great. But you got to be careful because there are some additives out there, ones that we don't use or recommend, that are actually harmful and contain products that you don't want to see in a vehicle because they can mask other problems. Like anything with potassium in it, you don't want that, because one of the things you're looking for in a diesel, you may not be able to find a head gasket problem with doing the old radiator gas check. You're checking your oil for things like potassium.
Okay.
Coming from the coolant into the oil. And if you're running an additive that contains that, it's going to make it look like you got a head gasket issue.
Rock, thanks very much for the call. Good luck and welcome. Thanks for listening. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Rick. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Rick, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I got a 2000 Chevy Blazer LS, and we replaced the CB axle, and we went to put it all back together, and we had to pop the ball joint bracket out of there so we could get the axle in there. And when we went to put the caliper back on, it was supposed to go, the line was supposed to go underneath that bracket. We had it on top, and we couldn't get the caliper on. So we took the brake line off and run it back underneath where it's supposed to be, and we hooked it back up. Now we got a leak on the end when the block, it's that block on the end of the line, and it's dripping there. And I don't know if we didn't get it back together right, because there's two washers on there, copper washers. And I think one's supposed to go on the bolt first and go through the block, and then the other one goes on the outside and then tightens up. Is that the right way?
Yeah. Did you put new washers on there?
No, we didn't.
That's the problem.
And it's dripping out of there.
Yep. You always have to use new washers, because if you have 100 washers and you take the hose off and you put new washers on and you tighten that hose up every time and you put them 100 washers down on the table, they're all going to have a different set of marks on them. They're all going to be bent in a little different area, because the way that little square rectangular block is pushing on there, it's a little different shape. And every time you clamp it down once, it's clamped in a different spot. Okay. And then if you move it, you're going to have a high spot and a low spot where you don't want them, and it's going to leak. So a couple of those washers in an auto parts store are going to cost you about $2, maybe. And you put those on and it'll fix it. Also, make sure it is completely clean. If it's not clean, it will also cause a brand new washer, brand new hose to leak. It's got to be no grease on that area. I like to clean them off.
Now that block on the end, that block, does that come off there or not? Or is that all part of the line?
That's part of the hose.
All one piece.
Yeah, you could pick up hoses for about $20, and you get a new hose if you have any question about it, and put it on with new washers, and should be fixed.
Yeah, and just making sure you hadn't stressed that hose in your rerouting and the weight of the caliper. Always be sensitive to not.
Don't ever let the hose hang from a caliper hang from a hose. You
no matter what
hook it
vehicle it is.
Oh yeah,
it will break.
We've talked about that.
That caliper weighs a fair amount of weight, and that line is not designed, especially the inside of that line, is not designed to hold that weight.
Rick, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Washers, those are
they're little compression washers.
Yeah, what a great thing
Copper.
they are. I mean, because they're cheap and they make all the difference. So you gotta stay on it. Just if your garden hose leaks, get some washers. Try that first before you go buy a new hose.
You should keep a little sleeve of them rubber inserts that eventually rot out and fall out.
I got a drawer on my tool drawer thing. I got a washer drawer.
How many of those you got in there?
1,400, I think. Same as I bought
Of the garden hose rubber ones?
Schrader valve covers. My first ever Amazon purchase was Schrader valve covers.
For what? Just on a.
I don't remember.
Just
but it
on
was,
your valve cord?
Yeah, I just needed one.
Designer ones or just regular?
No, just regular. They were, I think, $2 delivered, and there
For
was
100.
100 of them.
Yeah.
So I have a whole drawer. If you ever need Schrader valve covers, I'm your man.
If I ever need Schrader valve covers, I'm in trouble.
I got you handled, man. I am set. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Carl in Louisiana. Carl, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Yes, sir. We're trying to restore. We have a 72 Coronet, and on the floor pans and the trunk pan, they're all like in really good shape. Should we paint them with something on the, or like from the, like undercoated or something?
Did you put them in? You just put new ones in, or you want to fix the original ones?
No, they're new.
Okay, yeah. If you just put new floor pans in, and you're in Louisiana, I would probably spray them. I'm not going to undercoat them if it's staying down there. In that portion of the country, the humidity, I would use go to Eastwood. They are not a partner of ours. If they were, I'd get a whole bunch of my crap for free because I just spent like $1,500 with them. But anyways, go to Eastwood. Well, go to Eastwood and tell them we told you
Right.
so.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm
See what
working on a
happens with
project.
Matt.
But get their chassis black. I just bought some. It works really good. It's direct. It can go right over the metal. They have if it's bare metal, get their chassis black primer because it's not meant to be sprayed over a self-etching primer. That would be wrong to do that. It won't hold. So if it's bare metal, chassis black primer, you spray that down, a couple coats, and then you put a couple coats of their chassis black over the top. It's going to give you like a company we used to talk about, the smooth black finish. Yeah, it'll give you a nice smooth black semi-gloss chassis finish. It'll look great. Spray both sides. Spray in the car, spray under the car. A 72 Coronet, that's a Berkeley classic. Pretty nice car. I would say you're going to coat the bottom of the car, but then spray the inside. Do the floor pans, the side, everything inside. You'll keep it sealed up, keep the moisture out of it, keep it from rusting.
And there's some people that would do this car, be like a rotisserie rotation and restoration, and they might choose to paint the bottom of the car body color or whatever it might happen to be, different levels, but
that's going to rust eventually.
yeah, I know,
though, and
but
chip.
that's more for like a show car or
The
something
chassis
like that.
black is going to be more forgiving to rocks and things like that.
If you're,
so
if you're going to drive and use the car.
All right, Carl, don't go anywhere. We're going to have a question for you, but I have one before we get to his what's a Coronet? I mean, what's the
Dodge Coronet? It's going to look something
Related.
like, think of like a satellite, Plymouth Satellite, that type of.
That doesn't help me.
Challenger
GTS.
to a certain extent.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, in that year, 72.
Okay.
Same chassis, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Hey, now you're the expert on this
Carl,
one, Carl, because you own it.
Yeah.
What would you say it looks like? So we.
The Roadrunner.
Yeah.
The 72
Roadrunner.
Roadrunner.
Okay.
That's what I got. I said Challenger instead of Roadrunner. Shame on
That's
me.
gonna throw me. The words Roadrunner throw me on the color. We're
What
gonna guess
engine
the
does it
color.
have?
Oh boy.
It's the engine. It's the engine we had built. It's a 383 block. It's a 426 wedge.
Okay.
Yellow.
You're saying yellow.
Blue.
I'm gonna say it's not a fancy color. It's like a green, but not like a standout green.
It'd be bronze if it was the non-fancy.
Green. You got it right with green.
It is green.
Look at me.
Yes, it
All
is.
right.
Right on.
Stay on the phone. Our man Doug Mashick in there will get you a hoodie from our friends over at Berkeley One Classics. Celebrating 50 years of collector car insurance.
Thanks very much for the call. Is that, can I, and not me, but can I get one of those? Can I find, Coronets are rare.
A hoodie? You go to the store at underthehoodshow.com.
That actually came up
You
earlier.
can get a hoodie.
Is that a car that is fixable because it matches other parts?
Yeah, you can still get parts for that, but and they're not super expensive unless you get one with a Hemi.
They're going up.
That's going
Coronet
up there.
RTs and that kind of stuff. They're
And the 72 is going to be a little more. You're going to be able to find a few of them, but boy, all those cars are just they're getting expensive, but you can figure if we were talking about this car 10 years ago, it's doubled in price because of inflation.
Sure.
So if we say, that's a $30,000 car now or $40,000 car, that was a $15,000 or $20,000 car 10 years ago. So it's not like they've gone up that much, but the inflation has driven up these classics a lot.
Kind of the same as like new cars. I mean, there was a time not too long ago where expensive new cars were $50,000, and now that's entry market.
The price of gas right now for this Memorial Day weekend is as low as it was back in 2002. And you go, no, it wasn't. We were under $2. Price of inflation. They said when you take inflation out of there, it's under $2 today. I thought, that makes sense.
Interesting.
But gas, we don't think about that because it's always just been, we like it when it's low.
That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for joining us. You can always find us at underthehoodshow.com. And don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening to the Under the Hood Show. All right, this is the after show. If you're still watching, thanks for doing that. If you haven't clicked like yet,
you should do that.
I'm
trying to. Button? Can you see the button? Can you see the like button?
Look where I'm pointing. It's somewhere in that.
Yeah, don't. How do you like that? Just over here is where you click. We're going to put the link up there, and it's never there, is it?
No, it
when
never
they point,
is.
it's up here. It's like you're making the video. Can you just slide the little bar? We're doing it live, so it's a little more difficult.
Yeah.
So the like button is right there. See that?
Oh,
right
you think
there?
so?
It's
What
right
does
there.
it depend? Does it matter if I'm in landscape or portrait mode?
Shouldn't
there?
matter. It's right down there in the corner.
All right.
I got that really quick on accident, but that's where it's at.
Okay.
Just click the like button. It's not doing anything to you. It's not hurting you. It's not like you're getting a subscription and now we're getting every week. It's like, oh, did you see this show? No. Just right.
I had to look this up on my phone afterwards because my brain quit on Chryslers during that call.
Yep.
That's a B body.
That's what he
B-body
said.
Coronet.
B-body.
B.
Bzzz.
And
Like
so
a B-boy.
Here's the other B bodies.
It's a super B.
Here's the other B bodies.
Get it? Super B.
And some of these don't make any sense because they were newer and they still called it the same chassis code. 75 to 79 Cordoba.
With
rich Corinthian leather cruising through the
79
fields.
Chrysler 300. 60 to 62 Dart. So that code was used on different times. That's
okay.
So I was confused. This Polara 62 to 64.
Oh,
So
the Polara.
63 to 64 Dodge 220, 330, and 440. Now we get into 65 to 76 Coronet, 66 to 78 Charger. Did I say Challenger or Charger?
You said challenge.
You said
I really, truly did not mean to say that.
Okay.
I confuse them all the time.
Charger Coronet. Same.
I do too.
68 to 71 Super B. 69 Daytona Charger. And then they get into
There again.
Then they
B,
get into
Super B.
Yep, they get into
body.
that next one though. Then they go 77 to 78 Dodge Monaco, 78 to 9 Magnum.
I have a question.
So I mean, the satellites, the GTXs, the Roadrunners, the Superbirds, all of them.
I have a question. I'm going to ask the question that I thought of and then give an alternate answer. Has there ever been a cool car body name that hasn't gotten ruined by the end of its run?
You mean like the Nova? Oh, the
Like
new
the
Nova's
Nova
at the dealer.
or the Cordoba, if this was, but then...
Or the Charger.
But then I think, is it just the car wasn't that cool all the way up and then it's only cool in retrospect?
Oh, you got me thinking here.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're saying where the last one ruined it.
Yeah, well, they end up just running it out because it's not popular, but it's because it's not cool anymore. And what
the
made
Firebird didn't get ruined.
What made me think of it was earlier.
The Camaro.
We've had this discussion about in the past when they changed and the Blazer became what it is now.
Right.
At first, it was not. People didn't like it.
The Camaro's done.
And they were awesome to the end.
Yeah, and the Firebird,
the last O2s were
Trans
great.
Am, they were still a good car. So they
killed the Challenger
back in the day.
The last Challenger was a Mitsubishi built little
Perfect
hatchback
example.
weird
Daytona.
thing.
But they resurrected it. They fixed that problem.
They did, but they got a do over. But when they the first time they really killed it.
And what made me think of it earlier was when the new Blazer came out, the current Blazer, when it first came out, some people were kind of upset that they just made it a regular SUV, blah, blah, blah. But that 2000 Blazer that was called in earlier wasn't the cool Blazer that everyone remembers.
No,
that was
when they went to the S Blazers.
What was it? A Honda Passport or
what? No, it was a pickup truck. It was a pickup truck with a unibody.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it was not.
That was a Blazer.
It was just an SUV.
But they were still making K5s at the time.
Yeah, I mean that was a big Blazer. But then when they dropped off and they all went to small,
like the
Bronco, the Bronco 2.
Yeah,
at least they put a 2 on there.
Yeah.
Same way with the Mustang, they put a 2 on the Mustang, but. That's the Mustang 2. That people love that or hate that, but they
hated it and now they like it.
Well, yeah, exactly. But there was a problem there because they said, "Oh, those are crappy. They shouldn't have the name Mustang on it." Really? A 77 King Cobra Mustang with a 302 and a 5-speed
that weighed about 3,800 pounds.
That was still a pretty powerful car for
our friend Dave Underberg got in big trouble in one of those.
Yeah, so they were used to the 4-cylinder. That car in a 4-cylinder was a pooch.
When I was in high school, one of my best friends bought a Mustang 2 at a dealership for $180. He put it on a credit card, and we laughed at him. And now we all are like, man, I wish he still had that.
And that was probably the old 4-banger. Those were really. Yeah.
Let's take a couple calls. Let's take 2 calls, and then we'll be done with the after show. Let's go to Ohio and talk to Bob. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Bob, what can we do for you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I have a couple things here. I got my granddaughter has a 2017 Ford Fusion, and the steering just went dead on her. Bam! Just couldn't even.
Yep.
You can't steer the car right now. And from what I understand is that the rack, they got some kind of electric steering on it.
A lot of cars are electric steering now.
Most cars are?
Most, yeah. They're gone to electric steering because they're part of the self-driving technology. You can't have a self-driving car without electric steering. It has to be able to turn itself.
And another reason they did is they wanted to get rid of the driven mass off the front of the engine from a power steering pump, and they replaced it with an electric servo that is mounted either at the base of the steering column or right on the rack and pinion itself, and it's all consolidated into one unit, and Russ hit it right on the head. That also opened up the door to assisted driving.
Yep. The power steering, a hydraulic pump requires a parasitic load on the engine 100% of the time, but electric only it takes power only when you're turning. And the faster you're going, the less power it takes to activate that. They can just turn it off and allow you to steer without any assist, but with hydraulic, it has to run. So it is a very known problem, very common problem for these racks to go out in this model of the Fords. We replace a lot of them. They have to be installed and programmed. Our partner Dorman Products does sell a rack and pinion for many, many cars. And yeah, you've got to install it, you got to program it, but you can go used, but I would, in this case of this car, I would probably be going with the Dorman Products unit.
Oh, a Dorman. Okay.
Dorman, yep.
No. Okay. Yep. Okay. Now, is there anything? This thing goes bad. You're just dead in the water.
No, you got to turn really. You got to have really strong arms.
So it does work like manual, but it's
you go to the like Planet Fitness, and they have a steering wheel mounted on the wall.
Just a 17 Ford
Fusion.
Fusion.
To work your it's a Fusion wall, and it's used to build up your arm strength for when your steering goes out. They should have one of those.
They should. They should
Like
have
What's
functional.
the steering wheel for? Oh, that's the build up your arm strength so you can.
In case your steering goes out, it's a safety issue.
Well, default, they have to have some sort of a default steer, and it's
Yeah,
still,
you can steer it, but you got to really. Now on the highway, it'll steer. You're not going to notice a lot of difference on a highway going straight, but in a parking lot, if you're not moving at all, you gotta roll the car. You got to put it in gear and be moving at least a little bit as you turn. Otherwise, you're not going to turn that wheel very easy.
Did you have another question there, Bob?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now to program it? Do you have to go to a car dealership?
You have to have some shop with a programming software. We have programming software. We can do it, and the equipment, the hardware.
Whoever's going to put it in probably has it.
Yeah, if they're going to put it in for you, I'm sure they're going to have it. Otherwise, they shouldn't be putting it in for you because it's something you need to install, you need to program, you need to test drive to make sure it's working.
and you're going to need a wheel alignment when you're done too.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I was told that you're going to need a wheel alignment. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I'm so old school, and all this new technology. It's just it seems like they're reinventing the wheel.
They are.
That's just.
They literally are.
You know what? And for a lot of stuff, it's really cool what they come up with. But when you're used to the old way where you had a steering gear and you had pitman arms and extra ball joints and there's more moving parts, this is a self-contained unit. And when they work and they get the design flaws out of them, they prove to be pretty bulletproof over time. Mm-hmm. And you have less moving parts.
Okay.
So let's talk about, you got something going on with the 65 Montego also?
Yeah, that there, I'm having a problem. I can't keep points in the stupid thing. And sometimes when I do a little spirited driving, it don't slow down quite as fast as I would like to from 90 miles an hour. So I was just wondering, can I take parts off of a LTD, the front brakes, and put that on there? Or, because everything is drum.
Maybe. There are conversion kits for sure for this car. You can put there's lots of different companies out there that make different parts, but yeah, you can convert them over. And I think some of those use some of the LTD parts to put things together. You can, sometimes they'll require different things for mix and match to make brakes and things work. But yeah, you can go with, even just going with front disc brakes on that thing will make a huge difference. You'll change the master cylinder proportion and valve and swap those front brakes over to disc, and you'll make the car stop. And there's a lot of people who just put their own parts on. If they can get them to bolt on and they're safe, they're not moving around or anything, they'll make conversion kits. I mean, basically all you're doing is squeezing the rotor to stop the car. And if you can squeeze the rotor with the right parts and enough surface area, you're going to stop the car.
That's one. Brakes is that like the most forgivable conversion to modern in a classic car? It's just hydraulics. It's hydraulics, and you've got fluid coming out of a hose. That fluid needs to actuate a brake caliper and stop the vehicle. I've got an old truck now. It's an antique. It'll be Berkeley Classics this year, so that's why I'm changing it. But it's got a rear disc brake conversion on it, and I just found that rotors I could just pull everything, stripped it off the back, and I said, well, it's drum. What do I do? This could be a 1955 Chevy. And I said, well, look, 02 rotors will fit from an 02 dually. So I put those on there. So, okay, now I got this. Well, how can I get a bracket to fit on there to hold a caliper? So I said, well, first I need to find a caliper. What can I find? I don't have any parking brakes anymore. So what can I find that has a parking brake? Oh, look, a 76 Cadillac, 76, 77 had a parking brake caliper and a giant caliper. Well, you can still buy those. So I thought, all right, now I just need some kind of bracket to hold this caliper.
This is what everybody does, by the way.
Yeah.
So they do. They use this conversion now with these parts on everything.
The sarcasm meter was pegged there, right?
Yeah. Anything from on 10 bolts and 12 and 14 bolts. They use these all the way from the 70s on up. And you just need to come up with a bracket to hold it.
98% of our listeners do not know this.
Oh, they know it if they got one of these trucks.
I think that's low.
They got an OBS or
I
something.
think that's
Higher.
low.
Yeah, I think more don't.
And then on these Montegos, a lot of people were taking like Fox body rear ends, Lincoln Versailles rear disc brake cars and things like that, and they were either putting the whole rear end under them, or they would take the calipers and put back there because they had the parking brakes, and then they would make a bracket and make them work. So yeah, you can do tons of stuff. You could do it yourself with parts you can find because you've looked on forums to see what people
That's
have.
what I'd say. I get in like a
cheaper.
Facebook group and ask the question, and you'll get 32 people that'll tell you how to do it.
Or you can spend $3,000 to $4,000 and buy it all from Willwood or something like that, or Brembo, and get everything ready in a kit, good to go. And some people like it that way. They all show up to their door, every nut and bolt.
It's all clean, new.
I do like stopping. I mean, that is one of those things where you're just like,
and you get a car like that, you can go from, if you've got no power brakes and it's four-wheel drum, and you go to a four-wheel disc brake with a lot of power behind that booster, you'd be like, whoa, what happened? And you can have a car that's
going to take some adjusting.
If you've got, your tires are going to be the limit at that point. You're not going to have enough tire to stop the car. Like start, you
Bob, what motor you got in the Montego?
390.
All right. So, Russ, why do you think he keeps burning points out?
Well, you probably got a problem with resistance going on there. If you leave the key on ever with the engine not running, you're going to burn the points out. You can only have the key on with the engine running. So if you got the radio running in that accessory position and it's power in that coil, which some of them do, they'll still run. If you turn it to accessory with the engine spinning, it'll keep the engine running. Yeah, that'll burn those points out. I would get an electronic set of points. They do make an electronic conversion for those distributors. You just pull out the points and condenser, you drop the electronic one in there, and you're good to go.
Does that help you out there, Bob?
Yeah, no more setting of the points. No more.
All right,
dwell.
are we gonna? Okay, I'm going first on this.
This is a Berkeley Classic. Don't say anything here. We're gonna guess the color of your car.
Black. I don't. Black. There's. I don't.
Okay, I'm going white.
White. Okay. Yeah, that maybe. Russ.
I got to think of Montegos, what color they were. I think it's kind of a maroonish color.
Okay. Dark. Yeah,
faded.
for sure.
It's faded.
Bob, what color is the Montego?
It's a big banana. It's yellow.
Oh,
and
never.
All my friends call it a turnpike cruiser.
Nice. I never would have guessed yellow on that.
Was it at that? Is it that
cruiser.
original Country Squire yellow wagon color yellow that Ford had?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's my friends call it a turnpike cruiser, and I wasn't aware of this. I guess in the 50s they had a vehicle that the rear window was power behind
Yeah.
the rear seat. It's got a power seat, and that's the only window that's power. Everything else is roll up.
That was the Monterey, the Mercury Monterey. Yeah. Didn't you have one, Doug?
Mhm.
Was that you that had? Your friend had one, right? With the window. Yeah, because he asked me about that. Like when he first started on the show, he says, "Hey, my window is going up." Yeah, that was and one of our guys in the shop just picked one of those up, but it was newer. I was, has it got the power back window? He's like, "A what?" And I'm like, "Oh, wrong year."
When I was a kid, the only people who drove those cars were mob guys and ghosts. That was what the Montego reminded me of. Like you were in trouble if those were after you. If they were coming, that pulling up in front of your house, it's over, man. One way or the other, it's ending. Not yellow, though. Bob, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150.
Now I know why you instantly said black.
Yeah. Let's talk to Lee. You're on the Under the Hood show. Lee, what can we do for you?
Hi, Lee. I got a head scratcher for you.
Okay.
So I've got a 1989 Chevy Blazer with a 350 in it. And it was running kind of crappy, so I put new plugs and wires in it, and the distributor looked kind of yucky inside, kind of green or whatever. And so I replaced the distributor, and I set the timing at 0, just like it calls for, and it's running great, right? So I plug in it has that bypass wire to set the timing over by the master cylinder.
Yep.
And I plug that in, and it runs like complete crap when that's hooked up. And I thought, okay, we got a bad computer or something. So I replaced the computer, exchanged the PROM and the CalPac, and it still runs like crap when it's hooked up. You unplug the bypass, and it runs great. Any ideas?
It sounds like it's out of time because you've got to, when that's unplugged and you set it at 0 is where it's supposed to be, it's going to be running pretty poorly, but then you plug it in and it raises the timing. That's all done that's all done via the computer, but it sounds like it's out.
Yeah.
You're going to need to check the timing with it unplugged, engine warm, make sure it's at 0.
Yep.
But then when you plug it in, see what your total timing is while it's plugged in and sitting there idling. It might be all over the board if it's running rough, but if that thing's like at 40 or something, something's going on with the computer. Something's not right. But I think maybe it's just not timed right. Have you tried just turning the distributor to see if it'll run smoother?
Yeah. And then if you shut it off, it bucks against the starter like it's too far advanced.
That is too far advanced then.
Yeah.
Did you try putting the old distributor back in it? Because you replaced it because it was just ugly looking. But did you try putting the old one back in?
No, I have not put the old one back in. I don't trust it. The way it looks,
it sounds like the new one's not doing you very good either.
Some of those replacement new distributors are crap. So that might be the problem. You might have a bad distributor, and that might be causing the issue.
Even though it runs really good with the bypass disconnected,
right? Because that's a spout connector. That's a spark output timing connector, and if it's not picking up, if the base of that distributor is not picking up the signal the correct way, if the magnets aren't strong enough in there, it's going to be all wacky when you plug that thing in.
Okay, because it does advance when you plug it in. About 20, 25 degrees.
That's about where it should be, but it may just be a faulty distributor because I've seen a number of them. They're just super cheap. I think they probably cost, what is that distributor? Was it $90?
Something like that.
Yeah. So they made it in China for about $5 or $6, and they made lots of them, and they're just not really good.
Okay.
And that's just the way they are.
Could be a good experiment. Just you said you didn't take the old one out because it was known bad. You took it out because it just looked very poor, and you were upgrading things.
Yeah.
So
you might just swap the shaft out too, because the magnets are obviously
it was running
good.
crappy. I thought just do the whole distributor and call it a day.
Oh, it was running bad.
But yeah, it was running awful.
Okay. Then it might.
So that's why I did the plugs and wires and distributor.
Well, give that a try just as an experiment.
There you go.
And then watch your readings a little bit and adjust from there.
Send us a message maybe and let us know how it goes. Thanks very much for the call, Lee. Good luck. All right, there we go. Is there anything else to get to? What else you got? You got anything pressing that we need to tell everyone?
Everyone?
I don't think so. I think I don't have anything pressing.
Russ?
No.
You're
on the radio. That's you were. If you don't make the noise, even the camera won't get you. So the shaking your head won't get you. So you got to go. Yeah, you have to go. That's how. Yeah, do that. Go and then shake your head.
No.
I think it's time to end it today.
Okay. Thanks everybody for watching the Under the Hood Show.
The end is near.
Oh boy.